Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall here, working on our small group video from my house this morning. I hope that you're enjoying the book of Esther, and we certainly have reached the pinnacle of the drama in chapters 5, 6, and 7. If someone was telling your story, if they were retelling your story, who would be the nemesis? Who would be the Haman in your story? If they were telling your story 100 years from now, if it was a famous story, who would have their name blotted out with noisemakers or with people hissing? Would you share that with the group? If you put yourself in Esther's shoes, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? How are you behaving when you walk into the king's presence? Talk about Esther and those things. What do you think are some of the reasons that Esther didn't start right away when the king lowered his scepter and she kissed it? What do you think are some of the reasons she didn't start right away with her request when the king invited her into her presence? And then she has the banquet the first night. Haman and Xerxes are there, but she delays another night. What do you think are some other reasons that she waited until the second banquet to have her request made? And what divine sovereign benefits happened because of that extra night? Can you see three evidences of God's sovereignty in Esther's behavior in this part of the story? Well, Xerxes has a sleepless night. Have you ever had a sleepless night that changed your life? Share that with the group. What is the irony of the king's reward to Mordecai? How did the reward affect Mordecai? Did it? How did the reward affect Haman? How do you feel about God trying to warn Haman off? Haman's advisors tell him it's a bad idea. It seems like God is warning him off, giving him a chance to take a different path. How do you feel about the idea of God warning Haman off and changing before his ultimate demise? And if he had heeded that warning, do you think that this story would have ended differently? How would it have ended? Write a different story if Haman heeds that warning. Write a different ending in your small group. What is wrong with the assumptions that Haman has made? You can go all the way back to the beginning of the book of Esther, but you don't have to. Just in this part of the book, what are some of the assumptions that Haman has made and what's wrong with them? And do you think that Xerxes used Haman as a scapegoat? What was there more than one legal reason that Haman was executed? And then what were the off-the-books reasons that Xerxes would dispose of Haman, have him executed? Well, every week we want to talk about our application, and clearly this week the challenge was about pride. We don't want to be like Haman. So I wonder, how are you doing with your pride steps? Maybe you wouldn't share this with your group, but just as you're thinking about decisions that you made on Sunday, which one of the steps is the most difficult for you? We talked about cultivating humility. We talked about practicing empathy. We talked about living for an audience of one, trying to just live for God. We talked about apologizing and saying thank you. Of those five, which one is your Achilles heel? Well, we've got one more message to go. We're going to finish this amazing story on Sunday. I hope that you'll be there. God bless.